Hello and welcome to another episode of It's Not Hard, where we look at the uses, construction, and tying techniques of knots. Remember, there's no right way to tie a knot, but there are plenty of wrong ways, so always check your knot before trusting it to any critical load. Today we're going to look at another useful knot for camping, outdoors, and everyday use, the constrictor knot. The constrictor knot is useful for lashing items together, whipping the end of a rope, or securing something at a point along a line, such as a tarp pole. The constrictor knot is an elegant knot consisting of two key elements. The two ends nearly wrap around each other and not quite a overhand knot, but instead are secured by a loop over the top, which puts pressure down on the twist, like a finger pressing on it to add the friction and secure it. And that's one of the benefits and the drawbacks of the constrictor knot, is that once you've secured it, it can become so tight that the knot will jam, and you cannot release it without cutting it in some cases. You also have to be concerned with crushing the item. So if the item here was soft that you're wrapping it around, this knot can provide tremendous force on that and potentially damage it. But with those cautions in mind, let's look at why the constrictor knot is a useful knot. Because it maintains its own tension once it's tightened. It doesn't slip on the object it's tensioned on. So I can pull on this side, I can pull on this side, and the loop is staying intact, as opposed to just wrapping it where the line would slip in either direction if I just simply wrapped the rope around. So imagine a case where I have a line run in a camp setup, and I have a pole, and I want that pole to come in here and now support that line, but I don't want the pole to slide or slip either way. The constrictor knot prevents that. So the constrictor knot is extremely useful to hold secure to that point. Okay, let's look at some methods for tying the constrictor knot. So if this is my pole, or maybe it's a line that I want to whip the end of, the first method for tying would be the end method. So if I have my working end of my rope, I can come around my object. I'm coming around on the left side here. I go over and around again. Like that. And now I go over right here. I go over my standing end and come up under and right between this gap here. And I pull it tight. If you keep the two wraps close together, you can cinch it nice and tight. And so that's the end method of tying the constrictor knot. And it should look like that. So the end method is called the end method because I have to use the end of my line to tie with that method. And sometimes you need to do that if you're in the middle of a long object, whatever it is you're tying around. Sometimes you need to use the end to get around it, but other times you don't. So let's look at the twisting method. Imagine I have a line running and I want to support that line. And I want to put a post or a support in the middle of that line. And I want to secure my line to that post or that tent pole maybe. And I don't want the line to be able to shift back and forth. I want to make sure that that pole is anchored tightly to that line. Then you can look at the twisting method. Now, the twisting method says that you basically make a Z. With your line, I take the one end and move it up. Like that. I take the other end and move it down. Now I'm going over the line in both these cases. This is over this line, and this is over this part of the line. And then I simply pull the loops together. So I'm bringing the loops together on the other side of the line. So I went like this, took the loops, and I closed them together over the two ends of the line. And then you bring it over your post or your tent pole. Whoops. And you tighten it up. And lastly, it's a similar method, the folding method. If I have a line and I want to secure some point in the line to an object, I can just put a twist in the line like that. Pull it over. Pull some slack on this part of the line. So I have a space here. Put a little bit of a twist in it and bring it over the end. And pull it tight. And of course, with any of these methods, untying it is usually as simple as, if you can, sliding it off. And of course, it falls apart. Or, in the case of the end method, you have to physically pull it out. Or, if it's bound and completely tightened to the point where you can't untie it, and the knot is jammed, then you do need to cut the knot. Thanks for watching. And remember, with a little patience and a little practice, it's not hard.